We're going to start with the top 5. We're going to work our way through the top 25, our preseason. We're going to do our arguments. We're going to go around table. I'm going to say what I think, number 1. Alan's going to say what he thinks. Houston say what he thinks. If there's any argument, we'll make a debate and then we'll move on. But this is going to be our collective top 5. If you want in on this, we are including the listeners. So Alan's going to be watching Facebook. I'm going to be watching YouTube. If you want in, if you think we are absolutely, completely wrong, you got to let us know now. Also, the phone lines are open, 864-772-6674, if you want to yell at us in person. But let's start with number 1. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say the team that doesn't lose their passing coordinator, doesn't lose their defensive coordinator, and doesn't lose their running back, doesn't lose their quarterback, but was in the national championship. Can anybody tell me? I'll tell you the team starts with a C. Anybody have any guesses?
Cincinnati.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Well, I'm going with Clemson. Here. I'm going Clemson number 1. And again, we're going to go me, Alan, Houston. So let's go. I'm going Clemson number 1.
I have Clemson number 1 as well. So are we going to give a reason why Clemson is number 1, or are we just going to kind of round table and then go back and forth?
We're only going to do a round table if they're really like completely off or whatever.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, most of mine might be completely off because I just went down the list and named as many as I could at random.
Oh, yeah,
so
it's going to be fun.
When you see that Army is 10, you'll know I was going in some sort of alphabetical order or whatever page I landed on in my book. But Houston, what do you got for number 1?
Same. We're with Clemson. I don't think there's any doubt. Everybody's chasing Clemson, and they are undoubtedly number 1.
All right. So as you can see here on my little PowerPoint, let's put Clemson in there. You can see. Look at how pretty that is. I mean, gosh, wow. I even got like a little duct tape. Man, if you're listening to the podcast, you are missing this. But anyway, so Clemson number 1, number 2. This one I know we're probably going to debate on. A lot of the places I'm reading having Alabama. I don't have Alabama. I have a team that returns quarterback, does have to fix their running back, but is getting a transfer from Oklahoma and has pretty legit defensive line. You know, I love defensive lines and quarterbacks. So I'm going Ohio State number 2.
I agree 100%. I have Ohio State as well. You know, when you return a playmaker like Justin Fields, have some good pieces on defense, you know, cornerback Sean Wade and defensive end Zach Harrison. I think Zach Harrison is going to be a star in that program. I have Ohio State as well.
I think Ohio State is also number 2. I think the reason why I have them over Alabama, you look at their talent across the board. I think talent-wise they're similar. But what brings them over the top is what Big Al mentioned, Justin Fields returning for the season. What we believe the de facto number 2 quarterback pick behind Trevor Lawrence, I think he's going to have another big year. That's why Ohio State is ultimately my number 2.
Now, I want to put Alabama at number 3 because here's my thought. My thought process is we've got a top ACC team. We've got a top Big Ten team. The top SEC team is going to be better than the Big 12 team, than the Pac-12 team. And so in that sense, I want to go with Alabama, but I'm still conflicted because I'm really thinking if Jamie Newman works out, and I know what you're about to tell me, Paul on 105.5 FM is going to yell at me on the radio, but I picked Georgia to finish high last year. They've got a good defensive line. They've got Zamir White, good running back. They are trying to fix their offensive line, and they do have a lot of coaches that are new. But, you know, I think Jamie Newman is good. Now, he may not have any elite wide receivers to throw to, but I think Alabama beats Georgia because Georgia has to play them. And my only question is, will Georgia slip up to Auburn? Because if they don't slip up to Auburn and they go and they beat Florida, then they make it through. And I think they can maybe beat them in the SEC championship game, considering it is an Atlanta team. So I'm going to go with Georgia. I'm going to go with my gut reaction there, Georgia.
Okay, first gut reaction, first wrong answer. I have I have Alabama here at number 3. The question is going to be, is it going to be Mac Jones probably kind of leading the way? Is it Bryce Young, the new 5-star, going to kind of take over? They got a great running back stable with Najee Harris, Brian Robertson, Trey Sanders, and they got good receivers as well, Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. So their defense gets Dylan Moses back this year. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with as well. So I have Alabama number 3.
The main question is Kirby Smart still the head coach? And is Nick Saban still the head coach at Alabama? That is the main reason. If you're still running fake punts on 4th and 13 on your own side of the ball in the SEC championship, I'm going to give the edge to Nick Saban. I like Mac Jones. There's still plenty of talent. I don't know if they finish number 3, and I'll give credit to Morgan. Like, Georgia still has a chance where they could be in this position at the end of the year. But if we're talking about the beginning, I think there's a little bit more certainty when you talk about the Crimson Tide. I think there's a little more certainty with what you've seen without of them, even without Tua Tagovailoa when he was out last year. They still have a lot of talent. I have them as my number 3 team.
And the biggest thing is I don't think Florida drew a better schedule. Eastern Washington, Kentucky, South Alabama, Tennessee, or at Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, which they play LSU every year, but it's going to be at home. Ole Miss, Georgia, a neutral site, Vanderbilt, Missouri, New Mexico State, Florida State. Georgia's schedule's better. So Georgia is going to have a better chance of making it to the SEC championship. So with that, coupled with the fact that you changed my mind about the coaching situation. I didn't really think about coaches when I wrote this down, but yes, Nick Saban is way better of a coach, especially in the crunch time. And I'm going to go. I'll go ahead and I will concede and go Alabama as 3. So we got Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. Number 4 for me was between Georgia and Alabama. So I had Georgia 3, Alabama 4. So in this case, if we're going to swap it out, I'm going to put, and this is preseason, so I'm going to put Georgia there at number 4. What do you guys think?
So this is where I start to go off the reservation at number 4. We talked about this a long time ago. We talked about preseason. We did a preseason top 5 several months ago, and I had Penn State at number 4, and I continue to have Penn State at number 4, which is kind of shocking. I don't usually believe a lot in Penn State, but I love Micah Parsons. Their linebacker, Micah Parsons, is fantastic. He's a freak of an athlete. I love this guy. Clemson recruited him as a defensive end. I like Sean Clifford at quarterback. I don't think he's like supremely talented, but I think he's a competitor and can get the job done. Most of their OL returns, and they have great running backs. I think Penn State can make some noise possibly this year.
And once again, I find myself on the same sideline as Big Al. I too have Penn State number 4. I look at their running back depth chart, and it's basically a list of running back commits that Clemson missed on. You look at Noah Cain, Devin Ford, Ricky Slade, all have Clemson offers. That's also not talking about their leading rusher, Journey Brown. Last year, he rushed for about 900 yards, splitting time with all these other running backs. They're very deep. Sean Clifford, much in the same vein as what Penn State does under Coach Franklin. What he does is quarterbacks aren't going to be the most amazing thing that you've ever seen, but they do what they do well. They manage the team. They manage the offense well. I think Sean Clifford falls in the same vein. I think Penn State's your number 4 team.
Wow.
All right.
Threw me for a loop there, I have to admit. I'm very impressed.
All right. Well, I mean, do you really have faith in Sean Clifford? I mean, he's not even the best. I mean, I guess he's the 3rd best. I mean, he is a junior. He's not the. I mean, Tanner Morgan is better. I mean, listen to the name, but I don't know. I mean, I do like Journey Brown. I mean, I think if you're going to have a running back that can control the game in late game situations, so does Penn State? And I'm trying to look this up. Ohio State went to Penn State last year, right? There was that game that was real on the line, right? And we watched that. Penn State had a chance and lost it. And now, no, they get Ohio State. Yeah.
Last year, Penn State it was one of the closer games that Ohio State had, but it was in Columbus, and I think they pulled away at the end. That one was Ohio State won 28-17. They pulled away at the end.
I think the game that I'm thinking about is Michigan. That's who I'm thinking. I'm thinking Michigan went into whiteout and fought them hard, but Penn State ended up winning that game. So yeah, so they get Ohio State. That's another pro for them. They get Ohio State at home. So we'll put them in here at 4. I'll concede again. I feel like I'm going to be doing this a lot tonight. But number 5, actually, I had Penn State. So the only team not up there in number 5 would be Georgia left for me. So I had Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Penn State because I love Micah Parsons and Journey Brown. But if we're going to flip-flop it for me, that means that Georgia is now number 5. What do you guys think?
I actually flipped this. I have Florida at number 5 because I have them winning the East. I have them beating Georgia. You know, I'm giving the edge to Kyle Trask right now until I see what Jamie Newman can do in the SEC. He's got Kyle Pitts at tight end, a great weapon for him. You know, their defense is always pretty salty. They got Brenton Cox, who transferred from Georgia, who's going to try to make some noise at end. They got Carrier Elam at cornerback. I like Florida's defense. I think they're going to take the East this year, so I have them at number 5.
Now, Houston, I'm going to tell you this right now. Tread lightly, because if you say what I think you're going to say, I'm going to ask to see your paper.
Well, I'll say to Big Al, I'll say not so fast, my friend. I'm going with Georgia. I'm going with the Dogs. Jamie Newman, I still have my reservations, and I honestly battled with putting Florida in that spot. Just similar reasons to what Big Al said, but ultimately, I just feel like with the offense that they have, especially in the wide receiving core, nobody's talking about George Pickens, Dominic Blaylock, Demarius Robertson, and Trey McKitty coming in from Florida State. They still have a very talented defense, and maybe if Kirby Smart doesn't run fake punts every down, they might have a chance to win the SEC this year.
And so, okay, so I'm saying Georgia. Houston's saying Georgia. Let me look at this schedule real quick. They got versus Virginia, neutral site. They're going to beat Virginia. East Tennessee State, they're going to beat them. At Alabama, they don't necessarily have to beat them. It's going to be at Alabama. Let's give them the loss there. ULM win, Vanderbilt win, Auburn, but it's at home. So you got to think we'll know by October 10th if Bo Nix has improved. But you got to think that's a key there. And then the Florida neutral site at Missouri, Florida neutral site at South Carolina. You know, Georgia actually lays an egg against South Carolina a lot. So can you really trust them to travel to South Carolina undefeated and hang on? I mean, as bad as South Carolina may be, Georgia just always has a trip-up game. That would give them their first loss on the east side. Even if that were the case, they could still run through with Tennessee at home, at Kentucky, and at Georgia Tech. So what do we got? Anybody in the comments saying our tiebreaker? So we got some people saying Georgia. Got me and Houston saying Georgia. Got Allen saying.
I was about to say there's not a tiebreaker
Florida.
to be had. 2 out of 3 said Georgia.
Well, you're right. I don't want to make you lose.
Math is
Al.
hard.
I don't want to make you lose, but I'm going to make you
I'm
lose.
going to lose a lot over the rest of this top 25. I feel quite sure.
I'm going to make you lose on this one if I can spell Georgia, right? Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
nice job.
Now I can spell. Let me go over to the screen here, and I can also do a little bit of PowerPoint graphics for you. You can see the screen: Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Georgia. Okay, that's our collective agreement there. Now, we're close with Florida, so let's move over to the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Florida, going to be close to being 6th. Originally, I put Oklahoma 6, but I think Notre Dame has a good schedule to come out with one loss for the end of the season. So Notre Dame's going to be up there. So give me Notre Dame to be above, Florida and Oklahoma in this sense. That's what I'm going with. I'm going with it.
Well, I tell you what, I kind of went off the reservation a little bit here at 6, and I went Oregon. I actually had Oregon a little higher and would have Oregon higher. I think they have potential to be 4 at the end of the year if they can get decent play from their quarterback. Obviously, they're replacing Justin Herbert, but Oregon at number 6, you got the transfer from BC and Anthony Brown, and Tyler Show will battle it out for quarterback. They have a good running back, CJ Verdell. They have playmakers at wide receiver, but their defense is kind of where it's at. They had a great defense last year. They returned 8 starters on defense. I think they can make a lot of noise in the Pac-12 and win the Pac-12, and they could be a potential playoff contender.
Oh man, to the both of you, I just can't believe it. We just turned our backs on our SEC picks. I'm going with Florida. I think Florida's the sixth best team, at least in the preseason. They've got a chance to win. Morgan just spelled it out. I think Florida has a chance to win the East. I think they definitely have potential to beat Georgia. That's why I have them ranked number six. Kyle Trask. A lot of people are saying, could he be Joe Burrow? I don't see that happening, but I do think he's a good enough quarterback to keep them in the driver's seat of the East, at least until they play Georgia later in the season.
So do we think we've got Oregon? We've got
Florida. It's got to be Florida because I've already picked Florida.
You've already
I picked them 5.
You already picked Florida, so we'll go with Florida then. I think that's a good choice. It's kind of interesting though. Where's the love for Oklahoma right now? So we're now at 7th. We've got Alabama, Georgia, Florida in the top 6. So does that mean that we put Oklahoma now? I've got Oklahoma. I've got them 6 or 7, depending. I did a couple of different trial runs with this, but
Nice.
I got Oklahoma top 7 in all of mine. So you can't leave out a conference champion if they're going to be that. I think they'll beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State could likely be ranked. They may have to play them. I don't know. Do they play them twice? Would that be a scenario where they would play them twice if they played them in the championship game? You know how the Big 12 does. But I'm gonna go Oklahoma in this case. Are you scared of the fact that Spencer Rattler is so new?
Yeah, kind of. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Lincoln Riley is the quarterback whisperer. He gets whatever he wants out of his quarterback. He always seems to turn anybody into a phenom at the position. So I think Spencer Rattler's probably going to do a pretty good job. Their entire offensive line returns, and they had a good offensive line last year, one of the best in the country, and almost all their defense is back. So I have Oklahoma at number 7.
I also have Oklahoma number 7. I do have my reservations. I'm not so sure about Spencer Rattler, not so sure about the defense. It's always the same kind of questions that you have in Oklahoma every year.
Right.
But you have Lincoln Riley. So I think you have a lot of opportunities to stay within the same position that you've been over the last few years. I think 7's a safe spot. So that's why I think they're going to be number 7 to start the year.
And I'm willing to give up Notre Dame in the sense that they will have, I think, a good record. They will have beaten teams all over the country. They will have lost to Clemson at home, which is going to be a big problem for them. But they could likely be a one-loss team. Another big problem is they're not going to play a championship game because they refuse to come to the ACC. But so, and then we already know that Brian Kelly can't win big games, at least against big teams like Clemson and other teams. They're just going to have a hiccup. So I don't really, even though I think their schedule gives them a good record, is what I'm trying to say. I don't really think that they're that good of a team. Okay, so we've got Florida, Oklahoma, and then at number 8. Are you guys saying is Notre Dame? Am I just too high with Notre Dame? Who else do you got?
I don't think you're really high with Notre Dame. I have Georgia at number 8, so obviously we're not going to, they're already off the board. But I'm not going to talk much about Georgia. But yeah, I don't have a problem with Notre Dame being that high. I have Notre Dame. Actually, I'll go ahead and tell you, I have Notre Dame at 9. So it wouldn't hurt my feelings to see them up there. I think you're kind of hitting something on the head with the schedule as well. So I think Clemson is kind of potentially their only loss. I would have the feeling they're going to trip up at least once more, but we'll see how it goes.
As far as my number 8, I do have Notre Dame. I think they are, dare I say, a fraud at number 8. They haven't really changed from what they were in 2018. They don't really have that tough of a schedule. You do play Clemson and Wisconsin this year, which I think they lose both of those games. I think they're a preseason number 8. I think after you get through October, they may be top 15, maybe. Depends on some of the games, how they come out. But, there's a lot of questions. I think they're number 8 just because of the prior, 2018, 2019 campaigns.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and put Notre Dame. I think that's a little bit more of a consensus there. So we've got Florida 6, Oklahoma 7, Notre Dame 8, and that's up on the screen right now. We have to. I feel like we're getting I'm not feeling comfortable with anybody else other than the SEC right now. I think the ACC is going to have more top 25 teams than they did last year, but it's going to be further down the list. I think that the Big 12 is going to be further down the list, Pac-12 further down the list, but SEC and Big 10, we should be in that territory again. So I'm not picking Michigan right now. I would have to go maybe. Well, actually, I missed one. We got to put in a conference champion. Oregon's got to be 9 or 10 right now. Alan already said Oregon. If we hadn't already put them on there. So, do you think Notre Dame beats Oregon? That could be a conference champion. I put Oregon being a conference champion.
Yeah, I think they could be a conference champion. That's why. I mean, that's the reason I picked them. Like I said, I think they're a dark horse playoff contender. So I definitely have Oregon there for sure.
Do you think Notre Dame would be ahead of them, considering they're not a conference champion, but they're one loss?
I like Oregon better. I have them much higher on the list than Notre Dame. But we've already got. I think, what do we have? Notre Dame down there already. So we got to put Oregon next, as far as I'm concerned. But hey, I'm willing for some debate from Houston. See if he's got somebody else in mind.
So the reason that I'm going to say this team is not because I agree with them going in this position. The reason I'm saying this, I'm basing what I'm saying on what I feel most people are going to say are the preseason top 10. I don't agree that LSU should be number 9.
Right.
But they're going to be in the top 10. They're probably going to be higher. I'm putting them lower because I don't see it. I just don't. I've gone on record plenty of times saying I don't see it. But they're going to be ranked, and they could be ranked as high as number 5,
right,
by some people. So that's why I'm putting LSU at number 9, and then I actually have Oregon at number 10. I think Oregon should be higher. I don't think a lot of people respect the Pac-12, regardless of what they have. I think that Oregon does make the playoff this year. Just through the way the season goes, but I think LSU will be 9 and Oregon 10.
Actually, Al, I hate to break this to you, but in every one of my write-downs or write-ups I did, I put LSU 9, Oregon 10, LSU 8, Oregon 9. So I think what we have here is we have a finish. We have wrapped up our top 10, if you're good with that.
Sure.
It's weird to say that a conference champion would be 10th, because I think when it all gets said and done, Oregon, if they're a 1-loss and they're a conference champ, or 2-loss conference champ, they're gonna be up there. I mean, I think it would be such a disrespectful thing to do that to someone. To have we now at this point have 2 non-conference champ, not even non-conference playing teams and SEC teams, Florida and LSU above them, and we have Notre Dame above them. I think that if you're going based on what happens at the end of the year, more than likely Oregon will be up there in the 6 or 7 range, or higher, because they got to jump them just because of that. They do give a lot of credit to being a conference champion. Now, with that being said, like Alan asked me before we started all this is preseason. Okay, so we're not taking into account the fact that the way the schedule works out. It would take us hours upon hours to do week by week. I was going to do that. Alan told me no. He shot that down. But anyway, so this is our top 10. Let me go back up. We've got number 1, Clemson; 2, Ohio State; 3, Alabama; 4, Penn State; 5, Georgia; 6, Florida; 7, Oklahoma; 8, Notre Dame; 9, LSU; 10, Oregon. Let us know in the comments over on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and in our podcast what you think. If we're completely off, if we missed one, if we forgot anybody, if we're just crazy having these teams too high, let us know. Or we got it all mixed up, and you let us know in the comments what yours are. But before we go into our next top 10 and the bottom 5, or bottom 20, or the bottom 5 of the top 25, I want Alan to tell us a little bit about our third segment sponsor.
Absolutely. Our third segment sponsor is Heating Cooling Services, Inc. They are family-owned and operated, serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, give Heating Cooling Services, Inc. a call. You're going to want to talk to Mark or Jason Trammell. Their number is 864-224-7655. Again, I want to give you that phone number. It's 864-224-7655. 247-655. I am so glad that I called them a couple years ago because it is really hot. And my house is just as cool as can be. It is like Antarctica walking in here after you go outside. So they are good people. You're going to want to tell them Alan and Morgan sent you.
Yeah, let me bring the screen back up. I've got Houston covered up. I'm going to uncover you, Houston, so people can see your beautiful face there. And thank you so much, Al, for that. We appreciate it. So we're going to get into our next 10, and that is 11 through 20. We've already gone through a couple. If you missed any, go check out our clip over on YouTube once the show is over later on this week. Let's see. So Oregon, number 11 for me. I debated over this. I thought about putting in another Big 12 team, Oklahoma State, which would be, I think, the number 2 Big 12 team. Mm-hmm. Then I also said, well, we really need a number 3 Big 10 team. And I hate to break it to you, but I think Michigan has a lot of the tools to be 11. But I also am very close on some of my write-ins are Virginia Tech, because I think they're gonna do well this year. Now this may be too high, but those are just some of my thoughts.
Yeah, this is when it gets really interesting. Number 11, I have Oklahoma State. They got a team you had talked about. They got Spencer Sanders at quarterback, Chuba Hubbard. They have the number 2 running back in the country that goes to Oklahoma State. So that the wide receivers return. Almost everybody on defense. I think Oklahoma State can really battle for that conference this year. So it's gonna be fun. I have them at 11. I like where or at least mention going there eventually, or originally. So I'm good with Oklahoma State.
I was about to put Oklahoma State. I would say they're my number 12. The team that I put number 11 is a Big Ten team. They're the model of consistency. They may not win the conference every year, but you know what you're going to get out of Wisconsin every single year. You're going to get a near 2,000-yard rusher. You're going to get one receiver that's really, really good, and you're going to have a game manager, quarterback, and a solid defense. Jim Leonard, to me, is the second best defensive mind behind Brent Venables. He's an outstanding defensive coordinator. They may not win the conference, but I do think they can win the Big Ten West this year. I think the number 11 team is the Wisconsin Badgers.
Oh, man. Well, I got to put Oklahoma State because Alan and I both agree on that. I don't agree with Wisconsin. Losing Jonathan Taylor is going to be a big blow for them. Now they get another senior running back. Looks like Garrett Groshek or Nakia Watson is a sophomore. I don't know. They also lose Quintez Cephas, wide receiver, who was like one of their best wide receivers in the past decade. So they lose 2 big playmakers on offense. It worries me a little bit. Now I know Wisconsin is consistent, but I'm almost saying like Brock Purdy does better. And I do feel like that Michigan may have a chance this time. They probably won't make it to the conference championship, but they may be again like a repeat of last year, where they end up being the best 3 or 4 loss team. So that's why I put Michigan. But I did have Oklahoma State in one of my write-ups. But again, I've got Michigan 12, Michigan 11, or Virginia Tech. So those are my 2 around this number here.
Well, I actually went with Wisconsin at 12. I agree with Houston. I think they're, Wisconsin's defense is always good. Okay, so you're going to get consistency from them on defense. Like you said, they don't have Jonathan Taylor anymore, so who's going to step up at running back? But with that offensive line at Wisconsin, they always have a good offensive line. I don't really care who the running back is. They're going to do fine there, I believe. And it's who's going to step up at quarterback. They're going to have some game manager types probably. Who's going to battle for the starting spot. But I have Wisconsin at 12.
Okay. All right. I'll concede that. I'll put Wisconsin 12 since Houston already said, them. And I think I really don't have them that high. I really don't. But I think I have to give it to Houston. He gave you guys both gave a good argument for it. So, I do feel like that Wisconsin has a better chance than most to be consistent and get up there. So let's say that. Now, again, Are we giving any love to Michigan or Virginia Tech?
I have a little love, but it comes much later.
Same. Very, very much later, yeah.
So what did I miss? Well, Al, what do you got next? Let's go 13.
13. Whoa, you're gonna love this, Morgan. I got to tell you, I'm not real high on my own pick, but at 13, I actually have Texas A&M. Okay, they're led by the roller coaster quarterback Kellen Mond, who can look like a superstar, especially when he plays against Clemson, and he can look very below average against other teams different weeks. It's just kind of crazy. They got Isaiah Spiller returning at running back. Their defense returns a lot. I kind of like Kellen Mond this year to kind of be a little more consistent and finally show the consistency everybody's been waiting on, of course, and under the great tutelage of Jimbo Fisher, right? I think it's going to be fun for him.
Well, when it comes to teams from Texas that have quarterbacks that sometimes look like superstars and sometimes look completely average, my number 13 team is the Texas Longhorns, Hook'em Horns. Sam Ehlinger coming back for his senior year. You also have maybe Brennan Eagles. I know that there had been some controversy with him on the team or whatnot. He may or may not be there. Keontae Ingram. I think Texas is a number 13 ranked team because maybe them and Iowa State are your best shots at, or in Oklahoma State. You have like a 4-horse race to maybe win that conference, and I think Texas is in the thick of that. Maybe by the time they get ready to play Iowa State, that may change. But I think right now your number 13 team is the Texas Longhorns.
Ooh, we're way off on this, guys. We're way off. Now I have Texas A&M higher than Texas. I feel like that, Texas is going to end up maybe, I don't know. I know Sam Ehlinger is good, but I don't know much else about their team. Texas A&M, I don't really like them at all because they play so slow. I hate their play. And right. I've said it many a times. I have plenty of teams above them, including Auburn, including the Tar Heels.
I have Texas at 14, if that makes any difference. They're my next team.
So Texas is your next team.
Yep.
Texas A&M is my next closest at 16. He's got Texas right now. You guys are nowhere near what I'm thinking. So, all right. Let's go with Texas. If you all in agreement on that one?
Sure.
All right. So I'll put in Texas here for us at 13. Well, so I'm still confused here. You guys got to catch up with me here. I'm way ahead of you guys in my knowledge of all these teams and all the research that I've done. I still we got to come back around. There's got to be you got to be an SEC team in the top 15. There's got to be I'm thinking there's got to be another Big Ten team in the top 15. And I have 2 ACC teams in the top 15 with Virginia Tech and UNC on all 3 of my lists. So, I've told you what I got. Virginia Tech, UNC, Michigan, Auburn. Those are kind of my 4 that are in the top 15, no matter what list I'm looking at.
Solid. Okay, so here's what I got. I've got 13 A&M. I have 14 Texas. I have 15. I have Auburn and Bo Nix. Morgan's favorite quarterback, Chad Morris, hopefully can make some good use of him over there. They recruit well on defense, so I'm sure they're going to replace all the studs they lost on defense. I have Auburn at 15. I actually have Minnesota, and of course your humble host as quarterback, Tanner Morgan. So I have them at 16, and then I have Southern Cal and Keaton Slovis at 17. A lot of big time wide receivers there. Good news, they bring back everybody on defense, so hopefully they can improve defensively as well. So that's kind of what my next few teams, just so we're kind of looking at what we got here. I do have some ACC teams, but they start after that.
What you got, Houston?
So when it comes to, I'll give to 17, kind of like what Big Al did. 14, I've got Auburn. I think Bo Nix, he could be with Chad Morris coming in, he could be in for a game-changing year. 15, I have Iowa State, your boy Brock Purdy. I think that they have a shot to be a dark horse contender in the Big 12. 16, Sam Howell. I love the Tar Heels. I would personally, in my own personal poll, put them higher, but I'm just going off of what I think more people will do. They'll be somewhere in the mid-range there at number 16. And then number 17, Texas A&M, the Fighting Aggies, are number 17.
Okay, so the only ones that we really doubled up on there in the top 15 would be Auburn and Texas A&M. Are you opposed to doing like Auburn 14, Texas A&M 15?
I'm okay with that. I have A&M. Who do we all know who has who higher? Like I have A&M higher than Auburn. What do you have, Morgan? You have A&M higher than Auburn, don't you?
I have Auburn higher than A&M.
Okay.
And I have Auburn higher than A&M.
Then Auburn it is.
All right, so let me type this into my PowerPoint here. I know you guys love this. As you know, we're doing this live. This is a live debate of a top 25. So you can get in over on Facebook or YouTube and let us know. Check out the list now. We got 11, OK State. We got Wisconsin, number 12, Texas, 13, Auburn, 14, Texas A&M, 15. And let me give you a recap of the top 10. Clemson, 1, Ohio State, 2, Alabama, 3, Penn State, 4, Georgia, 5, Florida, 6, Oklahoma, 7, Notre Dame, 9, Notre Dame, 8, LSU, 9, Oregon, 10. And then the ones we just mentioned there back up on the screen as well. We're going to move into our 16 to 20. And, we're kind of going all different kind of directions here. And I hope that we get back on track because we had a few. We had a few where we were back on track, but at the beginning. So Houston mentioned, neither one of you guys mentioned Michigan. Neither one of you guys mentioned Virginia Tech. I still think that Virginia Tech's going to beat the Tar Heels, but Houston mentioned the Tar Heels. We already put Texas A&M. I have Minnesota a little bit later, but USC is one. So what do we think? 16. I'm going to say that we still got to include Michigan somewhere. They're my highest one that hasn't been picked yet. So I'm going to put Michigan 16. What do you got, Al?
I have Minnesota at 16, actually. So, and that's what I was saying earlier. I have Minnesota at 16 with Tanner Morgan. The offensive line returns everybody. They have to replace a lot on defense, but I think their strength is their offense anyways. So I have Minnesota. It was just kind of I don't know. It's kind of a gut feeling type thing. So I went with somebody.
And the reason I have UNC, I like UNC better than Michigan. I think Michigan is going to be a little lower ranked this year. Michigan to me is going to be one of those teams that you look at the top 25 and kind of go, I think they got in by name this year. I like UNC. I think they're going to be number 16.
I have Michigan at 21 just for reference.
So you're going to tell me to stop begging, basically.
Yeah, please stop.
All right.
You're embarrassing all of us.
I mean, I think they could be the best 9-3 team again. I think they just repeat again. But, so Al, where did you have the Tar Heels at?
I actually have them at 20.
Okay.
I'd like to have them a little higher. I actually had them much higher. I think my initial list, I had them at like 15. But if you'll remember, okay, I don't even want to get back into this on air, okay, because it was a pretty embarrassing moment. And unless I turn out to be right, and then in which case, in all of your faces. But I had Miami actually winning the Coastal. I went out on a limb and picked Miami to win the Coastal Division. I like Derek King. I believe in him, and I absolutely love their defensive line. They had the two best defensive ends in the country as far as the combo is concerned, in Gregory Rousseau and Quincy Roach. I just think they can do a lot of damage over there, or have potential to do a lot of damage. So, you got to take some swings every now and then. Miami was mine this year. So I went with Miami at 18 right now. They're on my list at 18. So I had to put them above UNC because I have them winning the Coastal.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I did have Miami a lot lower. I had them just barely peeking into the top 25.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked y'all had them in the top 25.
Yeah, I didn't want to, but I want to give the ACC some love. So sure. You guys are hating on me with Michigan. Obviously, not going to give me Virginia Tech if you're going to pick Miami in that sense. But so what do we say? 17. What if I threw this name out there? Mm-hmm. Southern California.
I have them at 17.
I have them at 20.
Is there anybody, Houston, that you would want to argue ahead? I have USC at 17 right now.
So the only teams that I have ahead of them, so like I said, I've got Texas A&M, but we've already got them on the list. I have Arizona State and I have Minnesota both ranked ahead of them at 18 and 19. I think what we've mentioned already with Minnesota, I love Tanner Morgan. I love what PJ Fleck has been able to do there. I think they're a better composite team than USC right now. I like Arizona State. I think Jaden Daniels, I think they're the team right now to beat in the Pac-12 South. I think, maybe USC or maybe Utah could have some things to say about that. But I really, really love Jaden Daniels and Arizona State. I have them at 19.
Yeah, it sounds to me like we need to put Southern Cal and Minnesota as our next two teams.
So you want to put Southern Cal at 16?
That's what I'm hearing. Southern
Okay.
Cal 16, Minnesota 17.
All right, so I'll move them around. So Minnesota, I originally had Minnesota 16, Southern Cal 17, because I do have
Okay.
Minnesota. I do have Minnesota. Well, I have Minnesota right below SoCal. So yeah, it works out. It works out there. So USC, Minnesota, 18. 18. I went in through in Cincinnati because I feel like you're going to have a non-Power 5 team in the top 20. Cincinnati, I feel like could win their conference, and they usually they finish around that spot if they're going to win their conference.
Yeah, I have Cincinnati at 25, kind of bringing up the end. They got 10 of 11 starters return on defense, and they were pretty good defense last year. They got their quarterback Desmond Ritter. They need some players to step up, wide receiver, running back. But I have Cincinnati peaking in the top 25 at number 25.
Yeah, and Cincinnati for me is at 21. Have them a little higher. I think they're going to be the team, unless they have a couple losses at the end of the year. I think they're your team from the G5 conference to make it into a Power 6 game or a New Year's 6 game this year. So that's where I have Cincinnati at number 21.
So let me look at it here. We got USC, Minnesota. I don't have Arizona State at all. I think I like California better. Chase Garber's coming back for a return.
Oh, okay.
So I know I told you guys this. I feel something going on with Cal. I think they're going to be good. I just got a hunch, gut feeling. I still think Michigan should be up there, but I know you guys hating on me with that. So
No, that's fair. I think we should start talking. I think the three teams we need to start talking is UNC, Michigan, and did you not say you had Iowa State up there, Houston? What'd you have them?
I had Iowa State at number 15.
That's what I thought. So I had Iowa State at number 22. So I think UNC, Michigan, Iowa State need to be our next three somehow.
Yeah, so we got. So you say UNC, Michigan, Iowa State.
Yeah, I have Michigan at number 21.
I think it's a good list. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I have Michigan at number 25.
Okay. All right. So maybe UNC, Iowa State, then Michigan. Would that be fair?
I like it. Let me put it in here, and then that'll round out our 20. Because we could go in circles, I think, fighting over it for sure.
Oh yeah, this is going to be brutal. These last 5 teams, especially.
All right, so let me go through the top 20 again for you. If you just joined in, we're doing our top 25 preseason debate, round table style. Number 1, Clemson. 2, Ohio State. 3, Alabama. 4, Penn State. 5, Georgia. 6, Florida. 7, Oklahoma. 8, Notre Dame. 9, LSU. 10, Oregon. 11, Oklahoma State. 12, Wisconsin. 13, Texas. 14, Auburn. 15, Texas A&M. 16, USC. 17, Minnesota. 18, UNC. 19, Iowa State. 20, Michigan. And then we have our final 5 to wrap up the night. Let's see. So is there anybody? I've got only guys that I've just overrated, I guess, what you would say, is Virginia Tech. They're on my list. So my ones that are up for me are Virginia Tech, California, and let's see, UCF, Central Florida.
So what are all the teams that you have listed that we haven't named yet that are not in our composite list?
So I've got Virginia Tech, California, UCF, Miami, and I'm missing one. I just can't find it.
Okay, see, I have the teams that I have that we have not put down yet are Miami, that I have at 18. I have UCF at 19. I have Arizona State at 23, Virginia Tech 24, and 25 Cincinnati.
And just to kind of talk through what I have, because most of my teams, I think, kind of mirror everything. Like I said, 21, Cincinnati. 22, I have Boise State. I think they're another G5 team that can make it into a New Year's 6 bowl. 23, Virginia Tech. 24, Miami. And 25, the Michigan Wolverines.
Okay.
Al, did you have Michigan at all? Or you?
Yeah, I have Michigan at 21.
Okay, so we already got Michigan on there too.
Well, we have them down.
Yeah, so we're good there. Really, it looks like Arizona State would be one compared to what you two guys. I didn't have them on my list, but I think that's
Virginia Tech needs to be considered as well. I think we all three have Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech for sure.
And Miami.
Virginia Tech, Miami. Virginia Tech, Miami, Arizona State needs to be our next 3.
Let's put Virginia Tech. I want to put Arizona State. I feel like they need to be up there. They're good.
Sure.
I like what Herm Edwards is doing. and I think they deserve to be up there. I just didn't really, I like California, but I don't think either one of you guys had Cal on your list.
No.
UCF, I think we both had UCF, or you had Boise State.
I had UCF at 19.
And so I think UCF put up there. Let's put them at 23, if that's okay with you, Houston.
That's fine. Or do we need Miami on there as well?
Yeah, I think we put Miami. Let's give them 24. And
Cincinnati?
What is our final one? We got to put Cincinnati. So that means you think UCF's going to beat Cincinnati?
I do. Mm-hmm.
You think they're better? We won't say beat because we're not talking about postseason. We're talking about preseason.
Right.
You think they're better than UCF would be better than Cincinnati this year? What do you think, Houston?
I'm going to go with Cincinnati, but I know that it seems like I'm a little bit outweighed on this one. I don't have UCF in my poll, but if you want to put Cincinnati at 25, I think that'll work.
I'm going to flip them because I do have Cincinnati above UCF, and you and I have that. Alan doesn't. So Virginia Tech,
Perfect.
Arizona State, Cincinnati, Miami, UCF to finish it out, the top 25.